Hey, hi there, guys. Warren here. Today I want to talk about a topic that's probably been talked about a lot. I won't say enough because I think it's that important to keep it in the limelight and to keep it relevant, because I don't want to sound like a fearmonger, but I don't think it's necessarily going to get any better. I think before it gets better, it's more likely to get worse. And that's just how really disconnected we are, even though we are technologically advanced in terms of connection. And again, I said it's been talked about, I'm sure often. I've seen quite a few episodes about it, but in different contexts, and context matters. But I mean, I want to take it to the point of, I want to touch a little bit about route learning and how that bleeds into what I'm going to talk about, and how everything, it seems, and I don't like the word all and always, and that kind of includes every, but how it seems that most communications, especially when it's feedback that might be negative, is just always defended by, or it seems everything is a personal attack. Just me? And here's an example. You see a clear violation of something, you name it, something that needs to be addressed, right? And lately, you find that even though you're a reasonable person who normally would say something because you think it matters and that the person would receive it because they might just be, dare I say, distracted. But now you find that you don't want to say anything because it will be taken as a personal attack. And here's an example. I was walking the other day, me and my wife actually, and the pup, and we walked past two vehicles parked alongside the road, and one was a government vehicle because the tags said so, and the other was a personally owned, so POV, personally owned vehicle. And I jokingly, because again, I won't in today's environment, but I jokingly said to her, if this person was outside and I said, hey man, you realize that your bumper is actually up against the government vehicle, not just touching either, it was pressing on it. You probably just need to back off. And I said I jokingly, because in my head, in today's environment, I heard the response, and you can argue, and that's part of what happens with this lack of communicating well, right? And please bear with me, because I have this feeling I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole. But in my head, I heard the person's response, and it didn't sound like the response like I alluded to that you would probably get, let's say, 10, 15 years ago. In my head, it sounded more like, mind your business, and so what? I'm a taxpayer, it's a government vehicle, I'm a taxpayer, I could do that. Just, I heard all the really disturbing answers for making what, in my opinion, is a simple correction. It's even, I'm so gonna get beat up by some of my brothers and sisters in arms. But it's so bad that I jokingly said this to my wife a while back, not recently, that I don't even want to go on a military installation to which I'm affiliated and make corrections if I see one, because I just don't. It might not be as harsh as the ones that I thought of in the civilian context, but I also thought I don't want to deal with someone taking something constructive and flipping out. And you look around you. Oh, you ask what's in the cup? Muscat tea this time, not coffee. But I don't want someone just flipping out because they think a correction is a personal attack. And then that bleeds into some other things, because then you say, Warren, you're just losing your cojones. You could. And I would say, no, I am not turning into a coward. It is just fear. It is that. The fear of not knowing the response that I could get. And oh, by the way, the response that I could get could be physical, because that's how far we've gone with how far we've come. Crazy, I know. But would you make a correction now that seems very mundane and normal? Would you do that? Because I'm telling you, the fear is real. And then we're supposed to be closer with this communication, and instead we're more distant, and it's moving so fast that it's leaving people behind. And I say behind, again, I started out by saying not fear-mongering, but it's just real. If you're with the kind of technology that we have, if you're behind now, you're most likely never going to catch up, okay, as fast as it's moving. Let's just call a spade a spade. So I fear that the people who are left behind, who can't keep up and who are being exploited with communication that is exploitative, these things that we see in countries and places where people cannot keep up with communication, I just fear that it will get worse before it gets better. And then when you try to defend those talking heads and alphabet channels that are feeding the people that are not properly equipped with communication and the speed of it, it's talked about, but I really don't think that some really take how truly disconnected we are, even though we are supposed to be so much more connected, because I think we've just lost the ability to communicate again, because with the devices and the technology we're using to communicate, it eliminates, in my opinion, or it negates, or it places active, truly listening to each other on the back burner. We don't listen to each other anymore because this is listening now. Sure. Absolutely. Indeed. And then when you call them on their BS, like you challenge them with a question about what you just said, you're looked at as if you're growing horns out of your head, because it's the norm. So I often say that hearing is involuntary and listening is an art, and I believe that. I truly believe that, because we have to disengage. We have to disengage. And that includes, and this is a part that I think is troubling me, the part I want to double click on here is that's the part that I think is driving the fear, is that we're not listening. We just hear, but we don't take that tactical pause like we say in the Army and really listen to what the person is saying. A simple thing like, hey, you're causing damage to a vehicle with your vehicle. Did you notice that? We might want to back up. No. They heard, hey. And in part, you can't blame them because that is the circular communicating that's occurring, to include at home. And so these people are constantly in defense of something. And if you ask them as an honest broker what it is they're defending, they probably couldn't tell you, but they're just defending something. And it is the way we communicate at home. It is the way we communicate at work. It is the way we communicate in our relationships. And until someone breaks the cycle, it is how we're going to continue to communicate. And I'm using communicate loosely there because it's not communication. It's chatter at best. It's lobbying of insults across the net at each other, the tennis of arguing, the tennis of confrontation, the tennis of conflict. But we're supposed to be so more advanced in communicating. And you say, Warren, a device doesn't fix communicating. You are absolutely correct. It doesn't, but it should have brought us closer to where, dare I say, we can look each other even in the digital eyes and slow down. Maybe I am just wishing upon a star. Maybe. But I said it bleeds into so many things because are you a coward now for not speaking up? Or are you just living? And look, not every hill is meant to die on. Society or people over time have to find ways to fix their own issues. And we've shown that can be done. That can be done. But not every hill is meant to die on. But then when that fear forces those who are very risk averse to shelve their true selves because they just don't want to deal with that. And look, there's an argument to be made that, again, with what people are going through and drugs and distraction, I alluded to distraction, it's probably best just to let some things go because you don't know what someone's going through and how they will react. And the Stoics would remind us of that we're only in control of our reaction, right? That which we put in motion. But that behavior, that communicating or lack of it or using it. So then there's the advancing of it, right? And I've seen in Asia, I won't pick on any one country, but in my being fortunate to travel for both work and in some cases leisure, I have seen where the reverse is true with the advancement of technology and communicating. We still have the route learning behavior, right? The repetition, where it's the way we've done it all along. That's how auntie did it, uncle did it, nieces, nephews, mom, dad, grandma, great-grandparents. It's culturally how it's been done. And even if that thing can be corrected with technology, communicating technology, as in street lights and crosswalks, it is not readily accepted as you would think in some of these places. They're more like suggestions than they are, you ought to do this. When the light is yellow, you ought to start slowing down because it's a crosswalk and you're about to get red and they're about to get green. Sounds simple, but even with that technology and that advancement, it is still, like I said, a suggestion to stop while people, human beings, are in the crosswalk instead. In some instances, I've seen where people speed up to try to play chicken with the pedestrian. Communicating, right? Communication. And you say, then what are we supposed to do, Warren? You have done scared me now, and I'm going back in my cave. What are we supposed to do? It's a good, fair question. It is, because there are a lot of things that we can do. And the first one is to start small. Care on purpose. Okay? When your child is communicating with you, even in today's digital world, when they put it down to communicate with you, and this is rich. I like to say that whenever I'm touching something that's rich. This is rich coming from a father with a broken relationship with his boys, okay? But I know this much. The relationship being fractured is not because I am unaware. It's from other things. But I know this much. If you're going to communicate in today's digital world with a child, and my boys aren't, I call them my boys, they're men, but if you're going to communicate in this digital world that I like to say they have created, and they're willing to put their devices down to communicate with you, the least you can do is to start small and put yours down and bring your head up and make that eye contact. It matters more than you think. And I know it sounds warm and fuzzy and superficial, and you're like, yeah, I kind of guessed that one was coming because I've heard it before. The thing is, how often have we actioned it? Truly actioned it? Put the device down, felt yourself, put it down, slide it away, and made the effort to listen. When? Right? So, and you say, oh, I have. That's just one. And the second one I'd leave you with is care on purpose. Not about you, but about what they have to say. As simplistic, as annoying as you have already pre-told yourself, right? Because you haven't disconnected yet. You're already concocting a defense, right? Even if it's Karen at the water cooler, don't start to concoct a defense. Truly disconnect even from yourself, because it's not about you in that moment. It's about them. So care on purpose. So, and then the last one I'll leave you with is, I told you, it would be absurd, hence the theme of our channel, to think that the universe is going to give us any answers, right? It's absurd to think that. And it's also absurd to think that we can take on all of life's issues that we think we can fight. What I say is, pick your battles. Don't shelve your true self, your true authentic self that sees something that you think ought to be said. What I'll tell you is, watch your six, as we say on the tactical side, right? Just check your audience, read the room, and if it just feels okay, maybe. If it feels like, not today, maybe it's someone else's fight, unless it's someone that is going to be violated for their human being human. I say maybe let that one go, Warren. Let the bumper leading against the other bumper go. Let the unregistered vehicle stickers that you see on these speeding vehicles in the neighborhood go. But I say don't shelf our genuine, authentic selves when And in the instances that I used the route learning, that one's tough because until you break away from the culture yourself and you want to learn more, because there is that innate, and we all have it, the innate ability to learn. It is just not nurtured culturally everywhere, and that's for all kinds of reasons. The culture might be one of agriculture, where communicating in terms of that formal type, that formal educating or education you get in communication isn't pushed, and so the things that you hear in the fields and around the yard and the farms is what takes hold. So many nuances, so many things going on, but we can start small. We can care on purpose about the speaker, even if it's carried by the water cooler. And yes, there are filters there too, right? Because there's so many people talking about things that isn't based on reality or facts or lived experiences. It's just talk for talk's sake. But filter all that out. And when it's truly communication that you think you ought to listen to, and you'll know, disconnect and truly listen. Because I think most of the conflicts in our personal lives, in our immediate neighborhoods, and spread that out into geopolitical issues can be solved often if people are willing to go into the room, willing to listen and be empathetic. All right, but I'll leave you with that. It's one of those that I said, I'm glad you stuck with me if you did stick with me, and if you didn't, whatever amount of time you gave me, I appreciate it. But it's one of those that I said in the beginning. It's a lot said about it, and a lot said regarding it, and all of it is meaningful because it all matters. And I don't think shelving it until we start to see some kind of balance or righting of the ship, which I'm optimistic. I am optimistic, but I'm holding my breath a little bit on this one, all right? But we can start small, and I'll leave you with that, all right? So until our next conversation, you be good out there. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and we'll talk again soon. I'll see you. What do you think, little girl? A take? I don't know. I don't know if the mic was close enough. And you're mad because you wanted to go outside.